Hi, I'm Lindsay, and here at Zinkers, we're excited about helping students in college and beyond.
I went to school at Northeastern University here in Boston, um, and I ended up there kind of luck of the draw. I did a bunch of college tours in Boston because my cousin got married nearby about my junior year. So this is what I had time for, and I ended up looking at Boston, really liking it. I really thought I was going to do something in a smaller city and do something very different. But I ended up coming around here and really liking what I saw and really liking the approach that they had to careers rather than just straight, um, education and typical classroom experience rather. Um, it was kind of unique in that sense that there was a strong goal of being employed at the end of the day. I actually majored in mathematics and I have a triple engineering minor, mechanical, industrial, and computers. So I kind of messed up along the way and I ended up as a makeshift engineer at the end. When I started out, I didn't know what engineering really was. I had heard the term, but it wasn't well, spoken about in my high school experience. My dad used to make the joke all the time that engineers were basically, the drivers of the train, and that's about all I had. He really thought that joke was funny. It wasn't. So I ended up going to school and I applied to half the colleges that I did with a physics background and half with a math because I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I did not want to go in undeclared because a cousin of mine had some pretty bad experiences in an undeclared first year. So I figured whichever one I end up going with will be what I start with because those were just two subjects I was good at. That's about as far as I got when I entered college. So everything I did thereafter was really shaped by the classes I took and more importantly, the internships and the co-ops I had. So I started out with a math degree. I did that for a year. The first summer, I had a internship at a hedge fund in Connecticut, and I did basically a ton of different programming, really tried to do a lot of mathematical models using the software R and programmed with that. So then I decided that I wanted to do a math and either a computer science minor or a dual. So I started taking computer science classes. Continued to do that and was really, looking for something a bit more on that side. I ended up doing my first co-op at a marketing firm here in Boston. And I was basically a data scientist. So kind of putting those two things together in a way that is not just money, which was interesting to me. But turns out I really didn't like it. And I just sat at a computer all day and that was really boring. There was no real application to it. It kind of was very made up numbers and did whatever I wanted with that. But I had already gotten enough credits to keep the minor with the computer science aspect of it. So I wanted to do back what I liked and I decided to do a dual physics and math degree. And granted, most of these were just, I took some classes. They were a plan that I never really finalized. So luckily I went to a school that was flexible enough to do that. I realized that physics was a lot more than mechanics and there was all of the, circuits and theory and electronic side of it. And that was not me. So I figured finally, after enough talk and enough understanding of what, it was in the world, I did a mechanical engineering minor. I didn't want to go back and redo the engineering classes that freshmen did as a now middler, which is a third year for Northeastern students. And so I figured this was the best bet. I actually taught a bunch of my counselors that a minor in engineering existed. Most people did the major in mechanical engineering and did a minor in mathematics. So I was probably the only person to do the opposite that most people were aware of. It was just plugging different things into our course catalog and seeing what stuck. So I, as my second co-op, really wanted to do something engineering, and I really just took whatever was available. I was ended up in a quality engineering role at a medical device company. So I did that and realized that quality accidentally was really what I liked. And that's still what I'm doing today, is quality engineering. It's kind of a jack of all trades type of engineering where you really need to be able to understand the risk profile, the rules that you need to follow, whatever, and also be able to talk to marketing, see what we've decided that we're making as a product and how we're going to be able to bolster that, and then talk to the engineers. And so you have to understand the engineers, you have to understand the different designs, the drawings, the programs, whatever it might be. So going a little bit deeper into that, I added the industrial minor as well, and I added some more process heavy aspects to engineering too, to kind of round out that quality background. I did my last co-op as a quality engineer as well. So I kind of, every time I did a internship or a co-op or had some sort of experience actually applying what I did, I changed my major drastically and added something new. I think, luckily I had a scholarship, or else I would not have been able to afford doing all of that. I work at a battery startup. This is my second startup that I've worked at. So engineering, and especially quality engineering, looks a little bit different at a startup versus a large company. You take the jack of all trades and you kind of multiply it by a huge amount, because there's so much that either needs to be flexible or needs to be different than a structured environment. It needs to be quick, needs to be efficient, needs to be done today and whatnot. Or if you might not have all the resources to get it done in the same way that other companies may. So a large aspect of my quality engineering is business maturation, which is a really fancy term for basically taking a R&D lab and making it into a business, taking things that, writing things down on a napkin and kind of telling people different things with an email to be able to come up with a new idea, versus being able to properly document it and get it kind of streamlined into a new process. So I started out doing supplier quality. So I started out doing and creating all of those systems and new processes for supplier development for all of our different materials that we were purchasing and putting into our BOM. And now I'm doing a little bit more on general tool development and process development. So process improvement and continuous improvement is a lot of my day-to-day, which basically means that anytime there is data that we need to work through, someone needs a report to easily be able to process what's going on. Any processes that happen within our environment that needs to be improved or matured to be able to meet our new customer requirements, things that, when we started up really didn't have anything. Now we're trying to respond to OEMs and different car manufacturers. So they're asking a lot more from our company, and being able to make sure that our engineers can deliver our different processes. So a really great example is I overhauled our receiving materials process recently, which doesn't seem like it necessarily is a quality role here, but it is a matter of taking the process of bringing materials in, properly labeling it, getting all of the data on that, and using that data in order to kind of give us a little bit more information in our actual engineering studies, and kind of doing that full loop. Very few people have enough of an insight into the process improvement aspect of it while also understanding the cell design and the bombs. So that's kind of where the process improvement and quality side comes into a company like a startup. I think the best benefit that I had as a student was being able to do internships and co-ops and see what the real world application is like. That's the biggest change that I've seen within my college career is things don't look the same in the classroom as they do in the workforce. And you are constantly doing different things, and being able to think the right way is the best thing that you get from college. But that might not necessarily be what your day-to-day for the rest of your life working is going to look like. So as much experience as you can get, kind of shadowing, learning more about different jobs or different aspects of it. If you can get a internship, that is great. And asking different people around you, doing little informational interviews with people in different departments, or learning everything that you can with the role that you currently have, as well as any other roles in that job, in that company that you may be interested in, is huge. If you don't have the opportunity to take some time off or have an open summer to be able to get more of an internship role, I had plenty of people that I just looked up on LinkedIn and wondered if I could sit down and get a cup of coffee with them. Granted, this was pre-COVID, so people didn't really know how to use Zoom at that time or any sort of video conferencing. So now I'm sure it's a ton easier than it used to be. But, there's so many people that would be really helpful to kind of bounce different ideas off of. These are things that I find interesting. What do you think about that? Different mentors you can kind of just find by finding people that graduated from your university on LinkedIn, or people in a company that you think would be really interesting. There's such a good resource of that, either on LinkedIn or different memberships. If your school has an alumni association, or if you're part of, ASME, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, ASQ, quality engineers, there's a ton of them. So being able to ask real questions off of a person who's in that role or in something that you might find interesting will probably be the best bet to really understand what it looks like outside of the classroom.
Follow us here and on LinkedIn for more helpful career resources and tips.